Right, Moya light, Moya bright. Welcome to another Moya live stream, guys. This is our little healing corner for people on the ground, and as usual, we're pushing ourselves out the comfort zone. Lucky for the age of information, now we can communicate across the countries, and we can understand each other as human beings. As promised, tonight we're going to be having discussions around minority rights and non racialism. I've got a man from the United States, Steve Holder, who's got a civil movement that he's going to unpack for us and kind of unpack what minority rights mean to him and what is this experience that you're coming from. Steve, it's so strange because when we speak of minority rights, we're not expecting to see a white male coming forward. So let's jump in. Can you just unpack that for us?
Okay, sure. Yeah, my name is Steve Holder, and I'm in the United States. I'm in the state of Tennessee, and in case you don't know, that's in the southeastern part of the United States. Uh, I was born in 1954. It was a time when our country, especially my part of the country, was extremely racist. Um, There were white schools and black schools. There were white churches, black churches. Many businesses did not allow black people to come in. Um, they had signs out front that said whites only. And it was it was a very mean period in our civilization. Um, so that's the environment that I grew up in. Okay, and I didn't really have any connections or any involvement with people that were not white until I joined the military. And then I was put with a lot of people from different nationalities, and I became friends with some black folks and some people from other ethnic groups. And I realized that, the things that I had been taught, the things that I had accepted were not necessarily the way it really is. And I learned that people from other ethnic groups and other races were human beings just like us. And I really hated it when I saw people mistreat other people for any reason, but for race, especially because it is so silly. It is so unnecessary. It is, I can't imagine really why people think just because someone looks different, that means they're inferior or ignorant, anything like that. We all have a right to be who we are. We all have a right to speak our truth. We all have a right to exist. We all have a right to talk about our experiences. Um, and that's why I started the White Equality Alliance, because you probably don't know much about my history, but back in 2020, I ran for U.S. Congress in my district. And one of the things that I campaigned on was the inequality in our society, especially in the part of the country that I live in. Uh, I think the demographics here now are about 97% white and Republican. I don't know if you understand what that means, but it's MAGA country, okay? And I don't really fit into that. I'm different from that. I don't buy into that whole white supremacy crap. I'm very much against that, and I don't mind saying it. A lot of white people in the United States totally reject the concept of systemic racism. They say it doesn't exist. They say it doesn't exist in America, and it never did. I mean, that is so stupid for people to say that. the United States was founded by a group of rich white men. Okay. I mean, that's a fact. That's a historical fact. It's not my opinion. That is a fact. And for as long as they could, they kept it to where only rich white men could vote. That was the foundation that our country was built on. So, how could anything not be systemic racism and sexism when you look at that? I mean, that makes sense, right? I mean, how could it be any different? Everything was built on that foundation. Uh, and now we say we have equal rights. The Equal Rights Act started in 1964 in the United States. And supposedly that made everything the way it was supposed to be, at least theoretically, right? That's what they wanted us to believe. But, racism still exists. Uh, the KKK isn't as active or as normal as they once was, and they once was very normal and mainstream in the United States. And when I grew up, the KKK, and I imagine you know what I'm talking about, the KKK, they were very much active when I grew up. So, that was something that was accepted by a lot of white people. And that still exists. It's taken on a different form now. Like I said, the MAGA movement is very white supremacist. I mean, they don't like to admit it, but it is. And that's why I wanted to start the White Equality Alliance. And some people in our country have a really, really bad image of any organization that uses the word white, and some people will see White Equality Alliance and they will think we're some white supremacists. And I want to remove that stigma. To me, that's important to remove that stigma because, just because I acknowledge that I'm white doesn't mean I'm a racist. I mean, why can't I say that? That makes no sense to me. In the United States, it's perfectly acceptable for somebody, a black person, to wear a T-shirt, for example, that says black pride, and that's okay, and it should be okay. But if I were to walk down the street wearing a shirt that said white pride, that would not go well. They would say I'm a racist. They would say I should be arrested. Some people might attack me, and not that I would do that because I do recognize that stigma. I would never do that. I mean, I respect other people, but I think I should have the right to do that if I wanted to without being labeled a racist. So that's why I put the word white in front there, because I want to remove that stigma. I don't know if I will, but at least I can try. But my activism primarily is about racism in general, combating the anti-racism, standing up against the white supremacy. I don't believe in white supremacy, black supremacy, green supremacy, or any other kind, I just think people need to treat each other with respect and dignity. I mean, we all deserve that. So I stand against any kind of racism. I don't like it. I hate it. I hate it with a passion. So, I'm retired. I'm an old guy and I have plenty of time on my hands. So why not use it in a constructive way to take a stand against racism and to, I'm not a hero. I'm certainly not somebody that has a lot of influence, but I can speak out. I can make my voice be heard. And there's so many people that are afraid to speak out nowadays because they know, and from being an activist, that sometimes it puts a target on your back, Sometimes people will say things about you and to you that are not very kind, to say the least, right? Sometimes they can be very hateful, extremely hateful. Um, and we're often judged, misunderstood. So, I can understand when people are afraid to speak about controversial issues. I get that. Um, but, maybe people like you and me can be the voice of those people. Maybe we can speak for people that are afraid to speak out. So that's where I come from. That's what I'm all about. So that's me.
Thank you. So I want to unpack a little bit of what you said. When you say that you want to wear a white and proud T-shirt, right? You have gone through your spiritual journey where you understand now race and humanity. However, what we find with the vast majority of the white population is a denial of history and a lack of accountability of the pain and everything that white people have done to black people, which is why we would feel some type of way if you're saying white pride because it feels like an
Yes.
attack. So until there has been a process of apology, reparation, repatriation, just some form of justice. That is what's missing from you being able to wear your white and proud t-shirts.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to unpack also, obviously you're gonna unpack all that. Then I want you to also unpack uh Flip, let's start there, and then I'll get my thought process back to what I wanted to ask you about what you've just unpacked. So I want us to talk about white denialism, and then how do we get around that so that we can live in this non-racial society?
Okay. Well, let's talk about reparations for a moment. I certainly recognize that overall the white race has done horrible things to black people, to Native Americans, to a lot of people. I mean, I get that, and I'm not proud of that. I'm definitely not proud of that. To be honestly, I find it difficult to take pride in my race, but I should have the right to if I mean, we're not all bad. I mean, we've done good things. uh, but yeah, I totally hate the things that we have done to other cultures, other races. And I do recognize that a lot of things need to be atoned for. Reparations, for example. I'm all in favor of that. But I think we need to focus on who needs to pay the reparations. I mean, for example, the billionaires that run the world, they own the corporations, they own the politicians, and they are the ones that have the power. They are the ones that oppress people. And they are the ones that should pay the reparations, not the poor white folks. If you told me to pay some reparations, I'd say, I'm sorry, I'd do good to take care of myself, you know. Uh, but I can see where that is something that should be done. Will it be done? I doubt it, to be honest with you. I hate to be a pessimist, but I doubt it. But it should be done. It should. Um, I mean, you know more than I how much black people have suffered, not just in South Africa, but in America, around the world. And
Mm.
it's mostly been because of white supremacists. And, I definitely acknowledge that. And I wish I could go back and take all of that away. I can't, of course. But like I said before, I can be a voice and stand up against it. Uh,
Mm.
and I hate for people to hold it against white people, poor white people today. Now, there's people like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, and those billionaire kind of guys. Yeah, they're still causing problems, obviously. I mean, they could feed everybody in the world if they wanted to and house everybody in the world and not even miss the money. Okay? But will they do that? No, they won't do that. Um, so I think racism is something that we're stuck with. And I sure would like for somebody to prove me wrong on that, but I can't see that it's going to change.
Sure. That's hectic. And that actually what you're going into now leads into the question I wanted to ask, which was then what would the psychological implications be, like the white psyche, to have to face this contradiction, where on one end there's this privilege and then on the other end, but the privilege is based on evil.
Yeah. Well, when people have privileges, they generally don't want to give them up. I mean, that's
Mm.
just a fact. If people have privileges, they don't want to give them up. Uh, and most white people in the United States will say, well, I'm not responsible for what my ancestors did. I mean, that's generally what they say. And I get that. I'm not responsible for what my ancestors did. But that doesn't mean that I can just say, well, it was okay because I didn't do it, because it was done and it was wrong, it was evil, and it's still being done in some fashions, and I don't claim to have all the answers, you know, but I definitely know what the problem is, and that's something that I can stand against. So that's what I'm trying to do the best I can. Um, And you invited me onto this platform is allowing me to say this around the world, and I thank you for that. Bless your heart, I thank you for that. Um, and I hope something good comes from it. I really do, because if the world, wow, I can't imagine how good the world would be if we could wipe out the racism. It would be a different world for sure, for sure. So
You say, oh,
go ahead.
are you okay? So you said you're from the South. This kind of movement, I don't think would be a popular movement in the area that you're in. So can you tell us, like, do you are they like five of you? Like, do you have any kind of support with this kind of organization?
Well, I just got started. What you may not realize is that I think I put the website online 10 days ago. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So this is something that is very new. I've always been against racism. Anybody that knows me knows that. But still, the White Equality Alliance is something, it's just getting started. I mean, literally, it's just getting started. So I haven't exactly told a lot. Well, I haven't told much of anybody that I know, because I want to get started before I hear the criticism. I mean, my white friends will, they don't want to let go of their privilege. Okay. They don't. They don't want to accept the fact that systemic racism is a real thing. And I hope I can change some of them, but, I don't really expect, I can't change anybody. I can speak to them. If they want to change, they can. But, I'm one person, I don't claim to be able to save the world. Like I said, I'm not a hero, but I just want to try. I mean, I just want to try.
So what programs do you want to put in place? Like, what will White Equality do? White Equality Alliance, what will they do?
Well, I'm in the process. I've been currently sending out some emails to people in power. I've sent emails to President Trump, to Vice President Vance. I send emails to people that, like, for example, I sent an email to a county administrator in Holmes County, I think it's Mississippi, recently because they have such a racist town. They have a history of the police harassing and incarcerating the black community for nothing, and that's something that I wanted to address. So that's something that I'm doing now. It's not something that other people can see, but I'm doing it, and I'm posting about it on Twitter and my newsletter and other places. So, like I said, I'm just getting started. So who knows what all will happen? But hopefully something good will happen.
And then you speak about the US politics, right? And the Democrats and the Republicans. And when you look at these two groups, it's basically it's different it's white people basically, but different spectrums of them. It's the liberals and the conservatives basically. And that speaks to a lack of representation for the minority groups. So black people have essentially had to identify with whiteness in order for them to just like get by. So what is it about White Equality Alliance that is going to move away from that where the standard is white? Because I mean, there isn't really black representation in American politics.
Well, I don't have any corporate backing. I don't have any rich benefactors, so I don't owe anybody any loyalty. I don't, I'm allowed to say what I feel like needs to be said. There's nobody telling me what to say or what to do. So I guess that gives me a unique opportunity, and I can come on shows like yours and say what
Yes.
I need to say against racism because nobody is telling me what I can or can't say. So that gives me a voice, an independent voice, an unbiased voice. Uh, do I do it perfectly? I'm sure I don't. I don't do anything perfectly. And again, I don't know what it's going to look like in the future, but I'm getting started and we'll see what happens. Okay. We'll see what happens.
And have you made contact with any other nations so that it's not just talk? There's actually you're with other people of color talking amongst each other and not just you on behalf of.
Yeah. Not yet. Not yet. But I want it to be more than just the United States. And, like I said, you having me on is definitely a big step in that direction. Uh,
Mm.
so I want to stand up against racism all over the world, you know, and by doing shows like this and sending out emails, I can reach people around the world. Uh, so I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to do that. And I hope that maybe I get other invitations to go on platforms like this. Um, and I would invite anyone that's interested, regardless of their race or their country, to contact me and tell me you want to help. I need some volunteers. On my website, I have a volunteer page. I tell them what anybody that wants to volunteer can do to help. So I want it to be worldwide. I want it to be something that's global, and I want it to be all inclusive. I don't want it to be about me. Okay, it's not about me. Right now, it is me, but I don't want it to be about me. So I welcome anyone watching to join me. please.
But what about now if somebody of color is coming and wanting to join you, but now you are White Equality Alliance? So now what am I as a black girl coming to do with White Equality Alliance?
I would encourage you to look at my website, and there is a page that says volunteer opportunity. Okay, so click on that page and it tells what you can do, what anybody can do about to share our message on social media or in other communities, or and talk about what we stand for, share our newsletter and all that. So yeah, there's definitely plenty of room for anybody. So I invite you and anybody watching, please join me.
We're going to contact you again in 6 months' time to
Good.
see where you're at and who else has joined and what the mission is. And we want to know what programs are now running. And, so from whatever part of the world, people can actually take part and be part of the movement by
Yes.
doing, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So, yeah, I don't know if you've got anything else on your chest you want to get off, or we can wrap it up.
I would just like to encourage everyone to please speak out, speak your truth, stand against racism, and please check out my website, especially the volunteer opportunity page, and please join me. Please, I'm asking, please join me. This isn't about me, and I don't care if you're white, black, green, blue, yellow. I love you, and I extend an invitation. So,
I am completely fascinated, and I would want to see how the other white people in the South are going to respond to you.
me too. Me too. It's scary.
I do wish you all the best. No, we're living in the age of Aquarius, so the truth is a little bit easier to maneuver. But we do wish you all the best and thank you for taking the time to be with us. We will be paying attention to your movement. And yeah, all the best. And yeah, it was a pleasure chatting to you.
Thank you very much. It's been nice talking to you.
And thank you to everybody who joined on the live stream, whether on YouTube, Twitter, or Facebook. It's always a privilege to host you. We'll see you again next time. Thank you, sir. Thank you.